There is a strange intimacy in being told what you cannot eat every day of your life. This intimate prohibition shaped not only plates and recipes, but the way entire communities saw themselves across centuries. The idea of a forbidden kitchen sounds punitive and oddly poetic at the same time. The roots of Kashrut are ancient, found within Torah verses and priestly codes that demanded discipline. These laws appear in Leviticus and Deuteronomy with lists, rituals, and a strict vocabulary about clean and unclean things. Reading those texts today feels like opening an instruction manual written for a different sensory world. Scholars have debated the reasons behind Kashrut for generations without settling on a single cause. Some theories point at hygiene and public health, while others emphasize identity and social boundaries that must be maintained. The more persuasive accounts link dietary rules to holiness, separation, and the creation of a durable communal ritual practice. Food regulation became a social technology for constructing belonging and difference in Jewish life. Eating together under shared rules built trust, regulated marriages, and reinforced neighborhood ties in ways that other institutions could not. The kitchen, therefore, became a place where law met daily life, and identity was kneaded into dough. When communities traveled and scattered, food held the map of who they were across unknown lands. Maintaining kashrut across rivers and empires meant preserving memory even when languages changed and synagogues fell silent. The persistence of certain recipes thus became a lifeline connecting exiles to their pasts. Arrival in new lands forced Jewish cooks to improvise with whatever ingredients were available locally. In North Africa, Iberia, and Eastern Europe, spices, grains, and oils reshaped dishes into regionally distinct cuisines. Those adaptations reveal a constant negotiation between law, taste, and survival in unfamiliar kitchens. The split between Ashkenazi and Sephardic cuisines is one of adaptation meeting history. Ashkenazi communities developed heartier, colder climate dishes, while Sephardic Jews retained more Mediterranean flavors like olive oil and preserved lemons. These culinary differences reflect migration patterns, imperial politics, and the way local ecosystems influence ritual practice. Consider gefilte fish as a case study in culinary adaptation and compromise over time. What began as an economical way to use available fish turned into a cultural signature that could travel across boundaries. That evolution tells a story about necessity, taste, making, and the slow work of tradition being built from scarcity. Shabbat foods like cholent and challah became ritual anchors against the rush of daily life and legal restrictions. The rules about cooking on the Sabbath encouraged slow-cooked communal meals that tasted of continuity. Those dishes are therefore less about ingredients and more about time, ritual, and communal rhythm. Passover imposes the most visually strict set of culinary prohibitions in Jewish law, and that fact shapes an entire seasonal food culture. Matzah, bitter herbs, and specific symbolic foods transform a historical memory into a sensory experience. Every Seder plate thus becomes a stage where legal text is tasted and remembered collectively. Other holidays also turn food into moral and spiritual symbolism through carefully chosen ingredients and preparation methods. Apples dipped in honey for Rosh Hashanah express hope through simple sweetness and deliberate ritual. Hanukkah, latkes, and sufganiyat fried in oil commemorate light and endurance in an edible metaphor. Ritual breads like challah carry law, blessing, and social meaning in every knot of dough that is braided. Braiding itself became a symbol of unity and purpose, a tactile practice performed before the blessing is spoken. That bread represents continuity, memory, and often the voice of grandmothers who taught kitchens the rules. Persecution repeatedly forced Jewish kitchens into improvisation, secrecy, and cunning that changed recipes forever. Ghettos, expulsions, and restrictions on trade often removed access to meats, fats, and spices that had been mundane before trouble arrived. Those material losses created new culinary heuristics and an ethic of making do that persisted across generations. During the Holocaust, food sometimes became the only thing left to exchange, remember, or hide behind when futures were taken away. Recipes were written in memory, whispered over cold embers, and preserved in the few pockets where family life could survive. Those food memories now function as testimonies, edible archives that refuse to let certain worlds disappear. In the modern era, a new industry grew up around certifying and scaling kosher food for mass markets. Organizations with recognizable logos began to inspect, certify, and brand products for a global population. Those certifications turned ancient ritual practice into a contemporary economic infrastructure with tremendous reach. Industrialization changed production methods and dietary habits while also enabling diaspora cuisines to travel farther than before. Frozen blintzes canned gefilte fish, and kosher snack aisles made ritual food convenient and visible in new ways. This mechanized convenience sometimes flattened regional complexity even as it preserved certain traditional forms. Kosher certification also reached beyond Jewish consumers to Christians, Muslims, and secular buyers who sought perceived quality or dietary assurances. The symbol of Kashrut acquired broader cultural meaning as a sign of cleanliness, trust, and specialty. In this way, Jewish food practice influenced global consumer culture and dietary expectation. Jewish foods migrated out of their communities and into the global palate in surprising ways over the last century. Bagels, pastrami, falafel, and hummus became urban staples that are rarely recognized exclusively as Jewish products anymore. This diffusion shows how prohibition can paradoxically become the seed of global influence when dishes cross social borders. Those migrations of taste raise complex questions about appropriation, authenticity, and the economics of cultural symbols. When a dish is divorced from its ritual context, it can both gain new life and lose essential meaning. The ethical question then becomes how to celebrate shared flavors while honoring their roots and histories honestly. No discussion of Jewish food is complete without the quiet, stubborn stories of grandmothers and home kitchens that passed knowledge along. The smell of onions frying, the feel of the dough, and the timing of the simmer are all embodied memory. Those domestic rituals are the reservoirs of identity that no law alone could create or erase. When we look back, we find that forbidden foods taught people how to be together more than how to abstain. The laws that say no also drew the outlines of a shared yes that endured across exile, empire, and industry. Today, those culinary practices ask modern eaters to consider not only taste, but the responsibility of remembering the stories that produce flavor. In the end, the Forbidden Kitchen reveals a paradox about human culture that is both political and poetic. Rules that once marked separation now underpin a global cuisine that feeds millions and shapes identity in subtle ways. If this story gave you a new perspective on taste, memory, and law, hit subscribe and keep exploring the world through food.